So guys, let's tell the world what OPSLED is, and I guess the quickest, easiest way to start this is asking you guys individually what it means to you. So Matt, we'll start with you.
Sure.
What's OPSLED?
So OPSLED, as a name, Operation Suck Less Every Day, which I absolutely love. So for me, it's always about trying to suck less than the day before, but in a bigger picture, facing those challenges and overcoming and just being better. Like I was putting objective in my life to be better than I was. So always moving forward, not being stagnant, not being, just resting on whatever that I always want to look to improve.
Sure. Awesome. Justin?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Always trying to do new things to grow, both physically, mentally, spiritually, however you want to grow. Like he said, never getting stuck in your same old patterns. Always trying to challenge yourself every day.
Challenge yourself, yeah.
To do something that either you're afraid of or that you want to try and haven't tried, something like that,
Yeah.
So we'll kind of give a brief introduction where this actually OPSLED came from. It was a bunch of us on a canoe trip once, and one of my buddies, John, I forget where he came up, but we got this conversation. But it was a bunch of guys on a canoe trip talking about how to improve our lives, challenge, all that type of stuff. And OPSLED was kind of born from these conversations of men getting together, what could we do to be better? And it was a great, got no TV, no internet, no nothing. It was in the middle of the river with a bunch of guys talking about OPSLED. So
all right, so let me ask the obvious question, right? Because and I have a way, I like to share a diagram that kind of expresses what you guys are saying perfectly.
Sure.
But let me ask you this: what's wrong with not getting better every day?
Why would you want to be the same all the time? It's kind of boring.
I don't know. That to me, that when you ask that question, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a fear came over me, not getting better, right? Like not improving my life. So for me, it's actually that is almost a fear. It's like, well, how I can't accept going through life, not being mediocre, but not living it to its fullest. I say life is meant to be experienced, and I love that philosophy. And part of that experience, like if I don't challenge myself, if I don't grow, if I don't make myself uncomfortable, if I don't have that thing, that drive, that energy, that spirit, like then what am I? I'm just a drone.
What's the point?
What's the point? Yeah, it scares me. So I guess that fear is like, if I just do this my whole life, and then what was it for? We're only here for like that blip of time, and I got to do something. I got to make that. I think about that drop in a pond. I've got to put my big fucking wave in a pond that changes myself and others around me. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll call it a word. You said if I don't do something that makes me uncomfortable. So that would be uncomfortable. Would be working on sucking less every day. Would that mean that standing still is comfortable?
To me, yeah.
Okay, so let's start there. That this is our comfort zone. Would that be a fair way to describe standing still? Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So take that one step further. Describe what makes it a comfort zone.
It's easy. I can sustain.
Easy.
I can sustain. I don't have. It's not. I'm not challenged. Let's say I've got I've got a good salary. I got a nice house, a car. It's just fairly easy life.
No risk.
No risk.
No risk. So
Yeah.
predictable.
Yeah.
Predictable.
Predictable. No risk.
Yeah.
Predictable. Okay. And if that's comfort, you said outside of here is uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. Unknown.
Okay. So let me ask you this then. Suck less every day requires us to do what?
I think it also requires us to look at our past day or look at our past experiences, how to now just not be comfortable and well, now that you're trying to kind of step outside our comfort zone, right?
So to do something we haven't done before. Is that a fair shake on? Right?
Yeah, very good. Yeah.
So step over this line, this you called comfort line, into the space of uncomfortable. Do something we've never done before, which means there's going to be, you say no risk, there's going to be risk out here, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be unknown.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be, would you say there's going to be genuine, we're not that you're in a state of fear, but now there's something to be afraid of.
Well,
right?
Fear was, as you wrote that dash, like fear was the next thing that popped in my mind. Yeah, fear, but and fear comes from taking on those risks.
Across here, and I'll explain this in a second, okay? So I want to talk about this space that happened right here. Okay, so there's fear associated with risk unknown. Cool. There's some fears that we default to, right? fear of the unknown. We hate not knowing. Fear of the big F word, right? Failure. Is there a risk of failure stepping outside here?
Absolutely.
Right, so failure's out here, right? Is it okay to fail?
I think so. I think you have to fail.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a
If it's requirement.
Yeah.
Requirement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other fears happen on here? So we have fear of the unknown, which is the big one. Fear of failure. What else are we failing? That are we fearing once we step outside here?
Well, I mean, I would kind of maybe depend upon what you're doing. I guess for us, it's because we're opening the new academy. So
Yep.
when I'm thinking, that's definitely stepping out into the our comfort zone. And so yeah, fear of failure, that it's not gonna work. Fear of I don't know.
Well, if you're gonna let me ask you, if you're gonna take time, money, energy, effort, your client base, and it may not work out, is there not a fear of loss?
For loss, yeah.
Yes.
So that's a very big. That's I guess.
Fear of
One more big one that goes.
what
right
other
here.
people think.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other people's.
Opinions.
Opinions. Yeah.
And I would suggest that out of all of these right here, this is probably the most crippling. Right? Fear.
Yeah.
Think about this for a second.
Mhm.
We're afraid of what we think other people might think of us.
Isn't that
If-
crazy how it dominates?
If a series of events that has not happened may
happen.
take place.
Yes,
I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
all go through it, but sometimes now it's an asinine thought process, but
Yeah.
it exists big time. Yeah.
Let me share something with you. You guys, and I know you know this, so we'll just share it for the sake of discussion. You say we all go through. You know who doesn't go through this so much? Kids. And Alex, you're going to love it. So when you look at the learning curve, right? And if we had a graph like this, right? And let's just say this is your learning on this side. And this is time, right? A child learning curve is like this. It's through the roof, okay? Little time, lots of learning. They go for it.
Yeah.
What happens over time with adults, you and I, at some point, as time goes on, our learning curve flattens out, and then if we get stuck here too long, actually starts diminishing. We go backwards in our ability to grow and expand, right? So this becomes a dominating force in our lives, creating an unwillingness to step over this line, right? Which means we're stuck in this comfort zone where growth not only stops, but we start sliding backwards.
Yeah.
And at some point we become more afraid of living, which is out here, than we are of dying, which is in here.
Yeah.
Think about that one for a second. That our fears are so empowering of us
Right,
here
yeah.
that we fear living, which is, this is living on the outside, and this is where we die. We get stuck here.
So do you consider these like limit? Like, so what? How does someone take that gap? How does someone go from here to there?
Let's understand how kids do it, okay?
Yeah.
Kids have two driving forces, right? This one in here, that's inside the space, is their capacity. What does that mean? It's their ability to do, right? Whatever skill. Let's use riding a bike as an example, because it scares the crap out of kids learning how to ride a bike. Okay, but somehow every single kid drives through it, right? Because their spirit, which sits out here, is what's really driving their spirit. What does a bike represent to a kid? Freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom. And that spirit is so big, that purpose is so big to them. The fear of achieving the spirit is extinguished.
Yeah.
Because they have such a big drive, a big purpose. And I'd ask, for the people listening to this right now, how many of you have such a big driving passion that it overcomes all of these fears that come across it? They don't even come into the radar screen. As adults, we tend to focus on our means, how much money we have, how smart we have, how much knowledge we have, our resources. We focus on all that, and then we determine how far that will let us go. Right?
Yeah.
Now, our resources, and we'll call them all resources, right? Those have only gotten us this far. So when you think about it, if we use our current resources, which have only gotten us so far, to try to figure out how to get further, it's a fool's game. It doesn't work. And again, we get stuck in our comfort zone, but we validate the crap out of it, and then it goes worse. Then we find other people that are thinking just like us, small, that want to stay contracted. We kind of like find a little peer group that all, because now we all think the same way, somehow it makes it okay to play down.
In there.
To suck the same every day. Effectively, right?
Right.
Kids operate a little differently. They let their spirit drive the capacity. So every day they push over this line. Every day they push over this line. And in doing so, this is the cool thing about it, as they enhance their capacity, they enhance their spirit. Spirit never goes away. It only gets bigger. It expects more of us every day. So it almost keeps moving further out. So how far out can it go? Well, till you reach your limits. How do you know when you reach your limits? You never know you've reached your limits till you risk going too far. Right? And I think we find as our capacity, think about, again, the kid riding a bike. What's his limit when he first rides a bike? Probably about 3 cranks on the thing and he tips over, right? That's his limit.
Right.
But the spirit never stops. It keeps driving him. It's enhancing him. And guess what? When he gets to 5 strokes this way, that gets bigger, this gets bigger. They're self-fueling one another, right? For long, he's up. Freedom has been obtained, right? But now it's not just to get to the end of the block. It's, you know what? I'm going to go down to my friend's house all by myself without my mom and dad, right?
I remember when they turn around and go straight. And turning around, I was like, oh shit, now what do you know? So, I mean, like, so that all those, as, I like this analogy because okay, this is the first 5 steps. This is turning around. Now it's like, well, now what? Now I'm jumping off a freaking ramp or whatever it is and then good roads go. So now it's like, the thing that scared you in the beginning was that's just whatever, because now that comfort zone is so much bigger. I like that analogy a lot. Yeah.
So let's bring this into real life application, right? Most of the people listening to us right now that are going to watch this live lives. They're married, they have kids, they have jobs, they have cars and mortgage payments and all this kind of stuff. And it's a scary world out there, right? And especially in this day and time.
breaking out of breaking out of that comfort zone in this modern age, because we're very connected to that comfort zone. Meaning being like the mortgage, the house, all that thing. It's very much that keeps us almost contained.
Right.
Is the point I was trying to make.
Right. Whether you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to decide, should I quit a job and go on my own, or you're a fledgling martial artist, man, should I really try this? Who am I to? I'm 40 years old. I've never done any martial arts in my life. I'm too old. I'm too weak. I'm too out of shape. I'm too inexperienced. All of these self-limiting
which are exact fear limitations we hear every single day when people try to join. Is that those 4 come up? Yeah.
Sure. And I don't know who I first heard this from, but somebody came with this idea saying that you should always be a white belt in something, right? Like what does that mean?
Well, that's I say as emptying your cup, meaning I'm always trying to learn. I think there's a lot of power in learning and experiencing new things. So I was telling the story the other day. I used to have a white belt when I first started martial arts that I kept. Like every time I learned a new martial arts, strap on that same white belt again. I loved it because it's like I'm learning something new again. I'm getting to now achieve more, and I love that feeling. So I like the idea of always putting on a white belt, because or the idea of putting on a white belt, or as Bruce Lee used to say, empty your cup, because that's just giving you opportunities to learn more, grow as a person, and that's very powerful. Yeah.
New guy comes into jiu-jitsu, he decides to roll with another white belt, right? He's been in for 6 months.
Yeah.
Is the new guy gonna get submitted a lot and often?
Well, yeah, probably.
The answer is yes. If a news guy, right? He is.
Yeah.
And in our world of win or loss, fail or succeed, those would be considered.
That's tough for people.
They would be considered failures, right?
Yeah.
How important is failing in your learning curve to succeed in martial arts?
If you don't fail, you're not learning. Plain and simple. You're never going to achieve anything. If you walked on that mat, and let's use an example. Say I walked on a mat, I'm a big 300-pound guy, and I'm going, okay, there's that white belt again, 6 months, and maybe that guy has more technical skills, but he's smaller than me, and if I just sit there and do nothing, so I'm so afraid to fail, that I'm afraid to move, I'm afraid to go for a new technique, I'm afraid to try something, well, then I'm never going to learn jiu-jitsu or any martial art or anything, because I'm still like, that's it, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to stay right here, because I'm afraid, well, then, yeah, you're doing jiu-jitsu, but you're not really learning. You're not really growing. And you need to fail.
I call it fighting not to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you go in a defensive mode
Yep.
and you're doing everything not to lose.
Isn't that this?
Yeah, that's exactly it. You're contracting, you're protecting yourself, you're fighting not to lose. And the truth
Yeah.
is, you can never win from that
Yeah.
position.
And that a lot of people have a hard time with that win and lose thing, because you see that every day in a mat. It's like they want to win, which is great, but the thing is, like, you gotta. It's like, if you talk about truly progressing yourself, you need to go through those failures. You need to suck and come
Yeah.
out of it. You know.
Would you say the failures are where we learn about martial arts, or learn about
Well,
life, or learn about strength training?
You started drawing this thing, and it's funny because I say this all the time. Ebbs and like peaks and valleys in jiu-jitsu, right? So let's say you're first starting out, like, oh my god, I'm learning I'm learning an armbar. Now I'm getting an armbar. It's great, you know. And as you progress, you're like, and then you go through this phase of like, you suck. You're getting your ass kicked on the mat every day. You're getting your guard passed. You're getting submitted. Like, why? Like, because you're ready to go through this huge uptick. You know, this huge
Yeah.
growing phase, and then it's like you got to learn again. So it's like always like ebbs and flows of, you don't have those failures, you don't have those valleys of shit, of sucking, you're never going to reach these amazing peaks.
Couldn't agree with more. And I like to see peaks and valleys as a required relationship, where in the valleys we learn about life, right? That's our setbacks, that's our challenges, that's our knockdowns. Those are the tough times in life where we genuinely learn about life, learn about martial arts, learn about a new career, right? And the peaks, the high part, is where we celebrate life.
Yeah.
Those are the wins, and some are small, some are big, right? And the truth is, and this would be for another discussion, peaks and valleys, how long we stay on a peak and how long we stay in a valley are controllable. And that's what there's a required relationship. These always have to be there, but how long we're stuck in each of them is up to us. And those are the parts that we can better. Right?
Definitely save that one, because that's a good topic I want to get into.
Yeah, you know, and you bring in the martial arts, you get somebody who had a little success on the mat, brings up, you know, he's like, I'm going to celebrate my success, but he takes it to an arrogant level, right? Thinking that he or she is all that. Once you switch over to that, you're one step shy of getting kicked back down to the bottom, because the next person is just going to crush you just because of the way you're thinking, right?
Right, absolutely.
As an example. Versus humility while you celebrate, right?
Yeah.
That, awesome, this is great, I've earned what I got, and I have a long way to go.
And be hungry for the next.
Yeah,
always. Yeah. So like anytime I'm like, I'll use jiu-jitsu as an example. Anytime I'm getting a new series going, or something's starting to click for me in a new like tactical way, I don't want to sit back like, oh, look at me now I'm doing this, I'm so good. It's like, no, I want more. It's like, it's almost like you want to go back to the valley again to kind of get that new, you know, because when you think about it, it's almost like it should be, I'm talking about jiu-jitsu and life itself, that the peaks and valleys shouldn't be linear. It should be like, there should be some sort of growth to that, you know, that you have your like, you know, ebbs and flows all the way, you know. Does that make sense for you?
It does, absolutely. So let's talk about for a moment this comfort zone, this line right here, and this little space here, okay? Because there's some unique characteristics as we approach either side of that line. Because there's some, you know, we could be sitting here, well, how do I know that I'm not just sitting and compromising and settling? How do I know that I'm moving or not moving, right?
Yeah.
And there's ways we can characterize crossing this line, and we've had these discussions before. One of them is, as we approach something that is unique, different, uncomfortable, involves risk, involves the unknown, right? It also involves, as we mentioned earlier on, a fear, right?
Yep.
And there's a genuine fear that comes over us as we approach this line. And of course, the fears are typically unfounded. You know, fear is a self-defense, it's self-preservation mode that's built into us. It was built into us back in the caveman days for survival purposes, right?
Right.
Giant grizzly bear, about to slice you up. That's worth genuinely.
That's
yeah,
fear, right?
yeah, that's legit, right? But that's not where our fears lie. Our fears lie in either something that's happened to us that we're worried about repeating, or something in the future that has not happened, that we're making up, that may or may not ever take place, which means pretty much it's not real, right?
Right.
Yep.
Because we don't know what it is or when it'll happen, and it may or may not really ever happen, right? So as we approach this line, these fears come up. When we cross this line, though, when we crossed into the settling, into the growing mode, the fear is converted, right? Because it doesn't go away, but it changes to being scared. And the difference being, fear is about something in the future or in the past. Being scared is finally you're in the present. There's something happening here and now that's genuinely scaring you, right?
Right.
And you brought this up earlier in a conversation, stepping out on the mat for the first time. You know,
Scary thought, yeah.
oh yeah,
Well,
when
scary
you
experience,
face a
yeah.
competitor for the first time, or you're stepping into an MMA cage and the door slams behind you, and although there was a lot of noise and lights, everything goes
Quiet as fuck.
deathly quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now it's just you and them. You had a team, now it's kind of like you're an island. Everything went away right at that very moment.
Yeah.
You're scared. You now know, though, guess what? You're working on OPSLED, right? You've crossed that line. No matter the outcome, growth will take place. That's the magic that I think is the biggest takeaway in this whole little game here. Across this line, no matter the outcome, growth will take place. This equation will be altered.
So how does it, let's say we'll take that normal person you're talking about for, and let's say we'll use martial arts as an example, or opening a business, like you're scared, you have a dream of selling widgets online, or you want to become a martial artist, how or you want to get the strength, or whatever it is, whatever your ambition is, how does someone go from this limiting fear that they're facing to being scared? How do we actually say, okay, what is that step, what is that thought process, what is that trigger that's going to say, okay,
Well, it's I love the words you just used to use it. You said first, how do they go and what is the thought process? It's really less a thought process. It's more an action. It requires a step forward into the fear. I saw this a long time ago in the boxing world, and it was reiterated very well in a small book called Flinch, and it talked about the natural reaction of a non-boxer to somebody throwing a jab or a punch at them, and our first reaction is to step back or flinch, right? When in fact that may put us at the most deadliest range of the punch. The only way to beat that, right, is to step into it, to engage it, to move forward, and that's how you cross this line. You step back. You fall back in this comfort zone. You're committing a treason against your own mission, against your own soul. You're virtually guaranteeing that you will not step over that line.
The almost fear becomes a reality, like that. If you just keep stepping back, it's like, well, you're gonna get punched in the face. That was your worst fear, and I don't want to get hit. Oh my God! And what's happening is like
the powerful range of his punch, right? Look at this line as opportunity, because as opportunities present themselves, they always show up first in a it's scary. Every opportunity hits you in the face with fear. And the idea of the flinch model, if you step back even for a second, that opportunity disappears as quickly as it shows up. The only way to gain advantage in an opportunity is to step into it, to step forward. The moment you step across the line, everything changes, right? Everything becomes real. You become very focused and centered. Versus getting stuck in this cloudy abyss back here. But to answer your question, it's no longer a thought process. It requires a definitive action, because we're trained. We're trained as adults to start. When you go into a thought process, means versus ends. What means do we have to get to the end? We'll talk our way out of crossing that line every single time.
One thing is to think about is fear power? Is a fear that something scares you? Let's say martial art, or you're scared of starting a business. Do you find that almost powerful, as in, well, that means that means I should be doing it, I should face it, I should address it?
To me, it's without exception, it's a trigger that opportunity is presenting itself.
Yeah.
But everybody's got a little different paradigm around fear based on previous belief systems and core value systems, and some see fear as, step back.
Right.
And therefore they look at you and say, why do all the opportunities always come to Matt or always come to Justin? No opportunities come to me. No. Same opportunities always present themselves. You guys step into them, they step away from them. That's the only difference in the two. So it's really the paradigm shift of fear is not something to be afraid of. It's triggering an opportunity, something that's there for you, right? So
do you think people need to be more aware of those fears? Like, so someone may be listening to this and saying, well, I'm scared, or I fear. I'm trying to phrase it. So that if they have that fear, that they instinctually just step back because, fear. No, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Should they now be almost like aware of that? So like, well, yeah, I'm fearful of something that maybe now there's my opportunity. I should have a quick little second of reevaluation and say, okay, I got to step into that instead of step back. Is that what you would suggest for someone, or is that
It
how you
probably
would?
goes one step before that. So picture.
I guess my question I was trying to pose is what are you? Let's talk about that person. Like how are you going to get them to go take that step? How do you, when they see that opportunity and they realize it, whether they realize it or not, they're scared of something. How do you convince them or tell them, say, it's okay, buddy. There's an opportunity that presented itself. Now take the risk.
Yeah, they've got to make a decision, right? So this is the deciding moment. They've got to make a decision. Where in the past they've chose not to make a decision, would result in a default decision to stand still.
Yeah.
So the question you're asking is, how do they change their decision so they change their outcomes?
Yeah,
That's really what
that's
we're trying.
yeah, sure.
That we're trying to get to. And without getting too deep into this, we have to understand where decisions come from, right? Decisions come from typically out of an emotion, which is preceded by a label, triggered by a circumstance or an event. So follow me with this for a second here, okay? You have an event. Give me an opportunity as an event. Just throw a phone call from me to you.
I'll say, yeah, Cage plus J say that's an that was a crazy opportunity, yeah.
Yeah, so the event was, I call up Matt, and I said, Matt, what do you think about joining forces and taking your brilliance and our brilliance and blending them all together for just something that's unmatched in the market? That's the event. There's a couple things that can trigger. One of them being fear, one of them being like an opportunistic viewpoint, right? All of the above, right? But an event triggers a set of emotions. Call these thoughts as well, okay? Thoughts, right? Out of this comes a decision, which then, of course, comes an action and a result. The result will be manifested once we're out here. The action is taking the step forward across the line. It is preceded by a decision which is rooted in here. Now, there's one little piece that falls in here, right? And this is what's called a label. Our brain makes thousands of decisions, tens of thousands of decisions every day. It likes to be super efficient about them, so it likes to do them on autopilot. So most of our decision making is done unconsciously, right? Think about that. Do you think about where you're going to put your foot when you go downstairs each day? No. Do you think about when you're going to shift your car? Any of that kind of shit? No. There's stuff that we know we can do competently, so we do it in an unconscious mode. That's exactly what our belief systems, which are little pieces of software plugged in, our core value systems plugged in there, that's what they're all there for, to monitor these decisions and behaviors or actions and results, right? There's a labeling system that also comes out of it. An example would be an event. You and I get on the phone. You label it opportunity versus labeling it a threat.
Right.
Okay? You chose to label it an opportunity. As a result of that, your emotion was very an opportunistic motion.
Right.
Which then you made a decision for us to sit and have a cup of coffee to discuss further. That was the action. The result is where we are now.
Yeah.
If you labeled it a threat,
Right.
you would have resulted in fear. You fear threats, right? The decision would be, screw you, Pat. No, we're done. We're competitors.
Right.
Right? The action would have been to do nothing. Right? You're starting to see the difference here?
Yeah.
So to answer your question, we got to go all the way back and challenge some of our core belief systems and ask ourselves, do they serve us today the way they did back when? When you look at beliefs, a good portion of our beliefs are rooted way back when we were young. People that were authorities to us, parents, could be people in our church, could be people, our teachers at school, right? And here's a perfect example. Teachers at school taught us something that most of us can't shake today, that failure sucks. Failure is bad. People judge you wrong, failure, right? That's what with my kids, you know what we do with our kids? I have my kids celebrate every week something they failed at. Why? So they understand it's a freaking celebration. It's an opportunity to grow. If they're not failing, they're settling for less than they're capable of in life. Yeah. And that's what this whole discussion's about here.
Right.
That's it. But that's an example of a belief system that does not serve us as adults. And it doesn't serve us as kids at all either. But it's one that's put in there that we didn't ask for, we adopted. Right? So to answer your question, how do we change this right here? Go back and challenge the stuff that happens in our subconscious, right? When circumstances, events happen, how do we label them? Another example, and a lot of people relate to this, you know, you're driving down the highway, you're about to get off the exit, and some person cuts you off. That's an event. There's a label. For most of it, it's a default label. It happens automatically. Many of us immediately label as this guy's just an asshole and trying to cut me off, is cutting the line. Right. That triggers an emotion, not fear or opportunity, but of anger, right? Which then can trigger a number of decisions. I'm just going to give him the finger, or I'm going to tailgate him, or I'm going to get back in front of him, which triggers an action. It could trigger some very unfortunate results from you rear-ending them or getting in a fight, but ones that happen more often that we don't even take account for is you end up going home to your family angry.
Yeah.
And you bring that anger, that energy into the room, and you immediately affect everybody and infect everybody. And that's how the rest of the day rolls out, because you mislabeled an event. An example, a change. Guy cuts you off. You immediately label it as, wow, he didn't see me. The emotion, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Could have hit me, didn't. Nobody has better luck than me. Wow, I'm a grateful guy, right? Your decision, just to chill back, turn up a good music, you know, and smile at the guy next to you because you're going to make it home safe today, right? Your action is just to enjoy the experience, be grateful for who you are and where you're at right now. Now you bring that into the house. Who's going to have a better night?
Yeah.
Right? Did the event change anything? No. And a big understanding of how this stuff works is that it's not our circumstances that dictate the model of the world that we experience, right? It's our decisions that dictate the model of the world that we experience. Everybody's like, but this happened to me and the economy and the president. We all have the same stuff.
Right.
But how we choose to see it and the decisions we make determine the model of the world that we experience. Right? And this is getting a little off base from our whole opposite, but I think that's the core of what we're talking about. How do we cross this line every single day? How do we make failing every day something that we should be rewarded for? How do we not care about what other people think at all? Right? Are other people going to judge you?
Yes.
Of course it will.
Yeah.
Do we judge them? Of course we do. Does it matter?
No.
Absolutely
Only matters to the degree that you let it. That's it.
And I think on that quick note, I think people's our perception of how people judge us are typically far worse than what we really are. And that it's almost like that unknown judgment is what people really have a problem with. But it's not the true judgment, you know.
And I think that you'll find over time that the smaller the people are, the more judgmental they are. The smaller they are, the louder they are.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the smallest people in the world that we worry the most about. How does that make any sense? Right?
It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah.
So one other thing I'll just bring up in this thing, something to be aware of, as we step out of this comfort zone, right? Out here, and then here, and we get further and further out, our core group, our tribe of people, and this is a challenge a lot of us have. We make them uncomfortable, right? They don't like being uncomfortable. You want to know the default position of our friends and our family that are in here as we step out? You know what they try to do?
Bring us back in.
Pull us back. And it can get tough. And I'm bringing that up in the context of there's something you just got to be aware of, right?
Yeah.
Because our environments, which include people around us, are more influential on our outcomes than our willpower. We've got to be aware of that. And the people that are closest to us, the ones that love us so much that we consider our friends, will be the first ones, if they're not moving with us, to tell us why we will fail, why we're not good enough,
why you doing
how
that?
dare us,
Yeah.
you know, why are you doing this to me? All this kind of nasty language. And the truth is, you have to make a decision. Are you willing to play small with them, or to be the example and hopefully allow them to come with you? Yeah.
Inspire them to take that journey.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really good.
That's OPSLED,
That's
man.
OPSLED, yeah. That's good.
I think that's what this all means, right? Operation Suck Less every day, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Beautiful. So guys, for all of our listeners out there, so a big part of OPSLED is not just about Pat, myself, or Justin, or Brucey. It's really about you guys and how we can challenge, inspire you to suck less every day. So we really want to make this an interactive experience so that we hope for some feedback from you guys. Share us your stories about how you suck and how you can apply this to your life as well as the challenges you're facing. And we'd like to make it sharing your stories too, sharing your experiences, it's not just about us. It's about how, as a community, as a team, as a family, as a tribe, as a of humans, that how we can evolve, how we can Operation Suckles every day.
Yeah.
So.
I'd love to see every week us to celebrate together the victories, right? Things that went well, but also to share the learning experience.
Yes.
Because those are really more important. If we didn't have a learning experience, we would never be able to celebrate the victory
Right.
in this game of life.
And I think that's important. You talked about with education that how you do with your kids, how you celebrate your failures. That's a big part. I think I would like to do this as well. Is that we start celebrating how we suck and how we are now going to work to not suck anymore.
I think the whole like celebrating the failures too gives people permission to go from here to here as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes people need to like have some kind of outside permission to do that. You know what I mean? To make that decision.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys, for watching, and please like, comment, subscribe, and let us know what you think.
Thanks, guys.